Hey there, hey there, anybody out there? I went live a couple minutes early. I had some feedback about the time delay for some reason between going live at noon and then some people actually connecting to the show. So I wanted to go live a couple minutes early and give anyone who's experiencing that issue some time to catch up and not miss the beginning. So it looks like now I can see the view indicator. So I'm assuming now that that means that anyone who is connecting will be able to do so now. But I'm going to wait just a minute because I can edit out the beginning of these videos. So I'm going to try to remember to do that before I actually hit that final button to have it go through the processing to upload it to YouTube. So I'm going to wait here just another minute and then go ahead and get started because it is technically 1 minute left, or yeah, my counter went away. So there's a countdown timer in a Streamyard that when I think it's in YouTube as well, when you set it up directly through YouTube, but there's a countdown timer that you can see so that you can hit go live right as the countdown timer goes to 1. Hey, Diana joined me. Hey, Diana, thanks so much for being here. I started a little bit early today because I wanted to allow enough time for the connection to happen. I believe that was some feedback that you had mentioned to me last week or the last time that you had connected, that when I start right at noon and dive right in, that it doesn't always connect right away. So I wanted to start a couple minutes early and then kind of wait. So it looks like I am connected now. So that is awesome. And now that it's noon, woot, I made it in before you started. Nice. Thank you. Great. Thanks for being here. So today on the marketing stream, anyone who's new here, I'm Vicki O'Neill, your Plateau to Grow marketer. I'm also founder of 10K Marketing, which is my company that focuses on marketing and sales alignment with the emphasis on marketing. And that's the one thing I'm going to talk about today. Hey, Monique, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here. Monique, Diana, thank you, ladies. So I'm going to talk about and just debunk the myth of marketing not being needed in order to generate sales. So, and this goes back years and years and years and decades and decades. This even goes back to when I worked for a big corporation in the marketing department and how our department wasn't valued as much as we probably should have been. Mainly because we were providing them with the sales team with everything that they needed, whether it was research, whether it was collateral materials, whether it was research, and just everything that they needed to do their job came from the marketing department. When you think about that, and in even smaller companies, or if you're an entrepreneur, of course, as an entrepreneur, it's kind of a no-brainer because we do everything, right? We do the marketing, we do the bookkeeping, we do the legal, we do the creative, we do the sales, we do everything. So it's probably not as applicable in this respect, although if you're an entrepreneur, your time's probably divided differently depending on either where you prefer spending your time or if it's something that is maybe a strength of yours and you spend more time in that area. So if you're more focused on sales, and you're probably spending more time on sales than you are on marketing or designing or creating anything new. Let me see here. Yep, always miss the first. I'm trying to get it. Yeah, I'm glad that you did that, Diana, because I was looking to see when the indicator would come through. So the number of views icon comes through in Streamyard. So I think that's my indicator now that it's actually made that connection. So I appreciate you doing that and also letting me know that that delay was happening. Yes, marketing is so important. It is actually critical. Now, the way I look at it as, can you make sales without marketing? You can, but why would you want to make your life so much more difficult on yourself and your business by not marketing? And everything that I talk about is about the customer journey, the importance of marketing, knowing who your persona is, creating relevant content that's going to attract and engage your ideal customers, and really helping them navigate that journey through their process, their time frame, right? So if we're all going to go buy the same thing, we may be at different points of actually needing that thing and go along that journey a little bit differently. It could be an emergency, you go straight to buying. If you're just like, I'm kind of thinking about it, I use this example when I'm talking about using a plumber. Plumbers are available 24/7, but there's different reasons why you would need one, right? So it's the same as true when you need to market your brand and when people buy from you. People may want to come to you and as a marketing person, they may want help with setting up a campaign on Facebook, or they may want to get help with setting up a live video on YouTube. That's something that I can help with, and I can help with very quickly, but it's a fraction of the overall picture, right? So all of those little pieces that you're doing to keep your name out there, or to engage with others, or have communication, or send an email, or create a document to download on your website, those are all things that are critical to your overall sales process and help your ideal target customers get to know, like, and trust you, which is it's part of the 6 steps to the customer journey that I created. And that part, or that journey that I created, was all about creating content for each of those steps. So what you would create for creating awareness of your brand is going to be completely different than what you're going to create in regards to helping somebody make that final buying decision to choose you versus the other choices that they were looking at. So when you look at the critical piece of marketing, it's going to ultimately make sales easier, right? So whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working in a company, marketing makes your life easier. And there's so many different areas and so many different aspects of marketing that it's just important to understand your end goal. And that's why I always talk about tying your marketing objectives, your strategies, to what your business goals are. And when you make that connection, or connect the dots between your marketing efforts and your business goals, then everything that you do, all the tactics and all the people and the timeframes that you have involved in that entire process, is ultimately going to drive the sales that you want to create, right? So as a business goal, you may have to increase your revenue by 10% over last year. Well, how are you going to do that? Yeah, the end goal is going to be generating sales or upselling existing customers. Both of those are sales, right? But if you've maxed out your existing customers and the communication's been the same, and you're putting the messages out there constantly on the networks and the platforms wherever your ideal target customers are spending time, that's going to get kind of old after a while, right? So you need to look at doing something different. Getting marketing involved, that's more of the creative side of your entire customer journey. So you have different types of personalities, you have different people that can help with that process, and look at how can we creatively generate that 10% lift in revenue for this year, break it down by month, by week, what are you going to create, and looking at a content calendar. And that's why I provided a content calendar through my podcast episodes when I talk about creating content. It's a rolling 3-month calendar that you can go in and you can plan out your month. You can plan out all 3 months, or you can just plan out the week, which is what I do every Sunday or first thing Monday morning, is I plan out my content for the entire week. And that's not only helpful in time management purposes, but it helps me look at what messaging do I want to get out that week, and what's the theme or the topic, or what are the new pieces of content that I created that I need to create awareness with my target audience. So it's important to do that as well. So marketing being necessary for sales, yes, you can generate sales without marketing, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. And here's something that I think is actually kind of funny, and Diane and I were talking about this earlier today. I'm going to bring this up because I think it's funny, and I had already seen this, so I wanted to. This is an example of the behind the scenes with marketing and just what it takes, and just an example.
No, you didn't. I did. No. No, you didn't. I did. Yes, I did. I told it to Dan at work, and he said it was the funniest joke he'd ever heard. our last pieces.
Okay, so the reason why I showed that is because that is an example of, if you think of like bloopers for a TV show and all of the things that happen before you get that scene produced the way that it's supposed to be, or in its final state, just like that example where he was kind of stuttering, that was the blooper. That's a great example of marketing and just needing to do some things behind the scenes that help prepare for actually making that sale or that final piece of your equation, right? Sales is the final piece initially, and then it continues into customer retention, but that's a completely different conversation. That's a completely different marketing strategy too. So looking at that particular blooper is when you think of a TV show or even a movie, and I love movies, which is why I was making this correlation. And I will be doing an additional one as well with cooking, but I didn't have enough time to actually pull up some examples of that. So that's why I went ahead and used this one. But when you look at what it takes to actually produce a show like Friends, just taking one episode, they don't go through that entire process from beginning to end, right? Those 6 actors, the 6 friends, don't go through and just walk on set and then just start doing their lines perfectly. Everyone laughs and everything's, great. They walk off and that's it. There's a lot of prep ahead of time, not only writing those scenes, but getting all of the people involved in regards to the camera people and the costumes and the set and lighting. And there's all these different components, which are, if you think of it from your business perspective, those different components also are, the behind the scenes, like the executives in your company might be the producer and the set designer and, some of those higher level pieces. And then when you look at it from a marketing perspective, sometimes it's those bloopers that are happening behind the scenes and things that you're trying or testing. Maybe they're not working, but eventually you're going to make it happen, which is that final scene that you saw with this particular Friends episode. So it's just another way of looking at how you can not only justify having marketing and not just saying it's an expense, but looking at marketing as making the life of your company easier. Yes, there's an expense tied to marketing, just like there is with sales and just like there is with accounting and just like there is with HR. Marketing has the most integral, pivotal, critical piece of that entire sales equation because they're the ones who are involved from the very beginning. And listening to any of the podcast episodes I've done, or when I was doing the 6 steps of creating content for the customer journey live, that was what I was focusing on, is having marketing be the leader in the customer journey and helping drive those sales at the end, getting the salespeople involved in the process where they need to be, but having one person or one department own the marketing, the entire customer journey. So when you have a marketing leader in charge of that, then they're going to make sure that all the appropriate team members are pulled in when they're supposed to be in that customer journey. Sales is focused on closing deals. They're focused on making money. They're focused on following up with customers, handling objections, and doing all of those very critical components of actually generating revenue. But they need to have all of marketing involved in that process up front to make their jobs easier and to also give them the research to handle those objections, or to create a testimonial that they can use to create social proof that here's why these customers who were doubting whether or not they should go with you, that now they really should decide to go with you. And here's why, because there were similar customers who were having similar challenges and they decided to go with you. And here was the success that they had. So when you put those pieces together and you look at it from a bigger picture, which I tend to do a lot, is look bigger picture, not so much at just individual components long enough, is that the pieces need to be integrated. And marketing is definitely not just an expense in your company. It's a critical component of the overall sales process and customer satisfaction and lifetime value of your customers, and lowering the customer acquisition costs, which I've talked about before as well. So keeping in those individual people involved in making sure that marketing is a critical component of generating sales is ultimately going to help with ensuring that marketing is seen as a leader in that overall process. So the content piece as well, if you think of it, if you're in sales and you're just looking at generating sales and you have zero content out there because you're only focused on you're prospecting and you're following up and you're doing all of the right things to close a deal. What happens when you need a testimonial or a white paper or the social proof or a blog article that you would use to close a different deal and it's not there? Those are the critical pieces that marketing plays into the overall sales process. Okay, let's go here. I've seen some of these comments come through. Diana, let's see here. Marketing sets up sales for the win. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like in the example I showed with the friends bloopers and the end result, that those friends were able to deliver that final result, even though there were bloopers along the way. They were able to deliver that effectively because of the writers. And it wasn't just one writer, it was various writers. And they probably, the individual actors may have had some input on how to best deliver that particular line, right? So it's just using some different examples like that, something that's interesting to you, like, TV or movies. I love movies. So the same thing can be applied with movies and correlating that to how marketing plays a critical role in the sales process. So just looking at those analogies actually helps create a different perspective. Hey, oh, this is Roy. Sorry, Roy. I always see April's picture and I automatically assume that it's her. Thank you so much for being here, Roy. I appreciate it. Happy Wednesday to you as well. Thank you. I was only able to be on Pat's show for about a half hour this morning. So, hey there, April. I think you were only able to be there for about 30 minutes as well. Hey, David. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. Yep, all is well here. I hope it is with you as well. Thank you guys for being here. I am talking about debunking the myth that marketing is just an expense and walking through that process of how critical marketing is to generate sales. Also mentioning how sales can be generated, but it's a lot more difficult if you don't have marketing involved. So, and I was just creating those analogies with different shows and just trying to be more creative in creating a connection between marketing and sales and how it just plays into different scenarios. So the overall customer experience too, when you think of, a typical salesperson is more focused on closing deals. And when their focus is on the numbers and hitting objectives and making sure that they're doing their due diligence to not only keep the pipeline full, but constantly adding new prospects into that pipeline as well. And once they're in there, as we all know, whether you're an entrepreneur, you work for another company, is that you have to follow up, right? You're not going to get a prospect on the phone or get a response to an email the first time. On average, I think the number now is it's either 8 or 10 times before it's 8 or 10 times that you interact with a prospect who's never heard from you before. So this is more outbound, cold calling type thing, before they'll even respond to you. So while you as a salesperson is filling that pipeline with those prospects, you're doing the follow-up, you're doing the calls, but also what else are you going to do without marketing involved to create the collateral and create the social proof and to keep your brand active out on social media or in email campaigns or on the website and keeping the content fresh? Sales is just not going to be able to do its job and it's not going to be able to do it effectively. So marketing is a critical piece to sales and to a company, and it's not just an expense. They play a critical role in the overall revenue generation process. So until companies can understand that there's that connection, the connecting the dots between marketing and sales, it's just going to continue to create friction internally with the sales team and the marketing team, and just more or less having misalignment and not seeing the value that those two teams can create when they work cohesively together is going to create missed opportunities on, revenue or customer retention or even customer acquisition. So I just encourage people to evaluate. Hey, Tim. Oh, no problem. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you joining us. Joining in the conversation on how marketing is critical to sales. Diana, marketing is essential for the quality of leads too. Yes. And I talk about this as well, Diana, and everyone on a podcast episode, and just getting marketing and sales and everyone else involved who's involved in that process at your company in identifying what is a high quality lead, right? What are the criteria? If you're marketing to everyone, and let's just say everyone's like, hey, I'm going to submit a lead, how would you determine what a high quality or a good lead is, right? So it's good to have that criteria defined or established so that when those leads come in, you can get those to the right people or determine, hey, this isn't a good lead for our company. It's just not going to be a good fit for whatever reason. And then it's not continue down the pipeline to a salesperson. Defining your leads up front is a great place for marketing to get involved, because they're going to be the ones who are doing a lot of the lead gen, right? They're going to be creating the opportunities for your ideal customers to submit a lead, whether it's through website content, whether it's through your social media posts, whether it's engagement in direct messaging, attending a live video, whatever that case is. Understanding what the lead quality factors are is going to help determine and help get that person, that prospect, through the customer journey a little bit faster. And of course, based on their pace, however fast they want to go. But understanding that what that criteria is, it means a high quality lead is important. So yes, thank you, Diana, for mentioning that. Tim. Awesome. I am so glad that you guys are here today too. Do you guys have any questions on marketing, why it's seen as an expense to a company, the value that marketing plays in the sales role? I have created so many different podcast episodes and blog posts on this just because that's what I focus on, is marketing and sales alignment. More so the focus on marketing just because it's the leader in the entire equation. But if you guys have questions that you want to bring up as well, that would be awesome. Let's see. David, I converted a lead into a client today. Awesome. Congratulations. Because I was able to build a deep relationship with them by providing value and conversation before anything else. That is such a great example, David, of the importance and the value of marketing, right? So it's the relationship building. It's the connection that you build with your prospects. And as you had mentioned, the reason why they converted into a client is because of that deep relationship that you built and you invested the time in doing, right? So when marketing can help with that as well, if you have a separate marketing and sales team, marketing can help develop that relationship for those higher quality leads, so that when the lead is transitioned officially into a salesperson's hands, then they're more readily available, or not readily available, they're more ready, I don't know what the right word would be there, more likely at that point to convert. And the salesperson probably isn't going to have to do as much work at that point either, because they probably just want, some final questions answered. Maybe they want a piece of that social proof. So yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's a great story, David. Thank you for sharing that. April, that's awesome. Yay. That is so cool. I love hearing stories like that. I understand the value of marketing, but no, I need help promoting, especially on a place like Instagram. Yeah, Tim, I was challenged with promoting on Instagram too. I actually spent a lot of time last year. It was for a good 8 to 10 months I spent on Instagram, and it was a challenge for me. I think because I was targeting small businesses and they didn't seem to be spending a lot of time there. And there seemed to be a game that was being played on Instagram, at least with me, was, someone would follow me. I would look to see if they would be a good person to follow and be like, yeah, they are a good person to follow. So I would follow them and then they would unfollow me. So I was like, okay, how am I going to continue reaching these people that I thought would be good ideal clients? And it wasn't working for me. So if there's anything that you want to share here and see if anyone would have any tips on how to help you do that, then feel free to go ahead and include that in the chat. If anyone is here or myself, then we can all help you out however we can. Converted the lead. Let's see here. Diana, I also consider SEO as a part of marketing. What are your thoughts? Yeah, SEO is like a huge part of, there's some people now that are saying that SEO isn't as critical, but SEO is like a huge part, especially for people who are organically looking for your particular solution. They may not be looking for you, but they may have a problem, not know where to turn. And in doing a search, SEO is going to be important for having you listed higher in the search results. Of course, it's going to depend on how many ads are being placed there as well. But SEO it's really important. And that's tying back to your website and making sure that the content that you have there is of value, it's relevant, it's timely, it's helpful. And then also looking at, like videos, since YouTube is owned by Google, looking at the video content that you're putting out there and the keywords that you're using, the tags that you're using, the title that you're using. So the more places that you can be, then the better off you're going to be with attracting the client, the ideal clients, when they go to search and just really aren't sure who to consider. Now I've done this several times on Google, just searched for anyone who might be searching for my services. And I do it in an incognito window, so it's not being skewed by anything I've been searching for already. And yeah, there's a lot of people who do what I do. So the key is, how am I going to stand out? And if there are some companies that aren't staying current on their SEO, like they're not keeping their blog posts updated, they're not updating the content on their website, then Google's going to look at that and say, okay, you're not interested in keeping your ideal customers, your customers current on your content and what you're doing. So we're not going to rank you as high. Let's reward those websites and those people who are investing time and resources into keeping their content up there, because SEO is associated with Google. So of course they're going to reward those people or those companies, websites, brands more likely than those who aren't. So hopefully that helped answer that question. And go back through. Now I lost my place. Diana, let me know if that answered your question. It is very important. Tim, I understand the value of marketing, but now I need help. Okay, hopefully we answered that question, if anyone has mentioned it. David, here's a question for you. Where can I find quality leads that I can connect with? I had a connection to this client prior, so it was easier. I truly do feel that things are starting to go stale. David, I would say you have a perfect example right now with that prospect that you just converted to a client. And I would say that worked for you, right? So look at what you did with that one person or that one client. Where did you find them? Where were you engaging with them? What was the frequency of those conversations? What were the frequently asked questions, or just the questions that they were asking that you were able to answer and help them navigate that process, and just continue talking with you until they were ready to actually convert? So that would be a great example of that being an ideal client for you, at least right now. Right. So once you start working with that person, you'll have a better understanding of, are they consuming a lot of my time? Are they buying additional products or services for me? And get a better understanding after the process of if they're a good long-term customer for you. But right now, you've got a great example of a prospect that's a good fit for you. And I would look at using that criteria, where they were, how often you're engaging with them, the questions they were asking, and what was it? And I would ask them, if you're not real sure, like, why did they choose to do business with you versus other people? And that will give you a lot of insight into what you need to do in regards to if it was like being super helpful, if it was being super responsive, if you had all the information that they needed, you directed them to the right resources. So look at those different criteria and see what those were, and then find out how you can replicate that and find more of those people on that platform. And if it's just going to be like, let's say it was on LinkedIn, if that's where you found that particular client, then I would say spend your time on LinkedIn. However you connected with that person initially, was it through a hashtag? Was it through a referral? Was it through just a random search? Find out how that person originally connected with you and see how you can replicate that process. And I think that will actually create more high quality leads like that person and drive those to you. It might just, if you spend a lot of time engaging with them though, it may end up being very time consuming. And at that point, you may have to evaluate how much time you're spending. Are you starting to see some trends and questions that are being asked that maybe you need to kind of automate that process and understand that entire journey that you've had with them and figure out how you can scale that, because you can only maintain that momentum at that level of detail and that level of communication for so long. And that might come down the pike, but hopefully that helps right now. Let me know if that was helpful to you in understanding how to find some additional leads like that. Awesome. David's going to help Tim. I love it when other people can be helpful to other people. Thanks for being here, you guys. I think that's a key part because it has so much to do with authority and trust when people are searching, no matter if it's Google or another social platform. Yes, absolutely. And we know that through search, just searching on Google too, that it's not just the websites that pop through. If you're searching for a particular person or a company and you know the name already, you'll notice that their LinkedIn link is on there, whether it's the company page or the individual. You may see Facebook information. You may see Twitter. So there are different SEO components that come from those social platforms as well. So look at the amount of time that you're spending on those, and you might want to look and see if what you're doing on, let's say Twitter, for example, is it showing up in search results for what your ideal customer would be searching for. Do you have better luck on LinkedIn then? If you're talking to me, Monique, I'm not sure if you're talking to me or not. So let me know. Me have better luck on LinkedIn than, I'm not sure if it's, what's surprising with me is I've had people contact me for my podcast. I was surprised, but I've actually had people say, hey, I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and they'll reach out to me afterwards. So I never would have thought that. I thought it would have been more of a supplement than anything. Vicki, do you think it is a disadvantage from a marketing perspective when business owners have VAs running their social media platforms as opposed to building direct relationships? I think, April, that's a great question. And I think VAs can be effective as long as there's close communication and an understanding from the VA as to what that person's goals are. Now, I'm not sure if that means that you're having that. Yeah, so they would be under, like if I have a VA, having them post things under my name, as long as they understand how I engage with my ideal customers and at what point that they would need to hand that off to me to have that additional conversations or that additional engagement. VAs can be very effective, but I think personally, and this is just my preference, because I think the deeper level engagements need to happen with me versus a VA, but a VA can be very effective in generating those initial conversations. So keeping your social media posts out there, understanding your language and understanding the tone of voice that you're creating on those different platforms is really important, because you don't want your ideal customers to see differences in my posts, because they're gonna be like, what's going on with Vicki? Why is she's coming across differently? And then people are going to be very standoffish and kind of back off because they're not sure what to expect. So as long as there's an understanding and a communication with the VAs as to expectations, and that there's similarities as close as possible between how you would post information and having them post information, that I'm completely on board with that. But then when it gets deeper into those conversations, more intimate, where it gets, into the heart of your business and how you can help them, I think those conversations need to be handed over to you or to me in that case. SEO has made a huge difference in getting me found on YouTube. Yes, that's awesome. And Diana, you're awesome with your YouTube videos too, with your how-tos on how to use different platforms. So I am not surprised by that at all, because they're really good. So if anybody out there is looking for how-tos on different types of platforms, whether it's the difference between Thinkific and Teachable, or if you're wanting to know how to use like a video editing software, she has a really good one on there too. And then also with just like online courses. So Diana's a great resource for that. I agree, David. Hey there, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. D90 Bell, let me know what your name is. That would be great. Awesome. Yeah, that helped. I actually found them through a Slack community. Oh, that is so cool. Those are very, very targeted too. So that's awesome. I'm trying to use LinkedIn more though. I just feel crappy doing cold outreach. Any suggestions to not do that? Yeah, I would say if you're talking about not doing cold outreach, because two things, just posting more on the common problems that your target audience is having. So if you have a frequently asked question, and then how you handle that with that particular, group of people or different people, even use examples of conversation. I do that on my LinkedIn posts, is use examples of conversations that you've had with people. I don't reveal their names or their businesses or, anything personal about them, but I think it's a great example of showing how, well, first the type of questions that are being asked, but then how you handle those types of questions as well. So they can be educational. But if you're talking about cold outreach, and if it's an email, I say, have a snappy email subject line, something that's going to be like really intriguing and get them want to click. And then in the email body itself, keep it super short and simple. The longer it is, the less likely they're going to read it, if it even gets through to their inbox. That's the problem when it's a cold email, is that they don't always know who you are. So if they see it and they're like, who's this dude? They may be like, all right, delete. I don't know who this is. It could be spam. So if you can develop a relationship with somebody on a social platform by reaching out to them, that's good. The only thing, and this is me personally, when I see a direct message come through from somebody that maybe I'm connected to, or even if I'm not, when I see a direct message come through with somebody who's never engaged in my content, never shown any interest in having any type of communication, or, even liked anything that I've put out there or anything else I've commented on other people's posts, when I see that direct message come through, I'm like, oh Lord, what are they trying to sell me? So instead of the direct message on social media, I would say first follow or connect with those people and then comment on their content first. Like start developing a relationship and start earning that trust to actually build a relationship in a direct message or in a Slack form. And if it's using Slack as an example, if you guys are already part of the same group, then look at the different posts or the different threads that they're creating and find ways to engage in a conversation in those channels, and then earn that right to, have a direct message conversation with that person. So that's what I would say. If it's a phone call, that would be probably more high level, just more of an introduction. And, if you have something new that you've released or something that you think would be applicable to their business, you've probably done research ahead of time on their website or their social media posts. Look at, what they've been sharing recently. And if you've created something that might help them, then in that phone conversation, keep it super short again, and schedule a follow-up call if you can, but then see if you can get their email address. And in that email, send them that link or that document or whatever it was that you think might be valuable to them. So there's different ways that you can approach that, David. So hopefully I hit on at least one that might be helpful for you. Hopefully that was helpful to anyone. Oh, versus Instagram. Okay, I need to go back to Monique's question. Did you have better luck on LinkedIn versus Instagram? Yes, definitely. LinkedIn has been a much higher valued resource for me. I know Instagram is for some other people, but in regards to creating connections and conversations and earning the right for the direct messages, that's happened more so on LinkedIn for me. Now, I love using Instagram a lot more though. So the stories, the creativity, I love it a lot more, but it can be very time consuming as well. So I don't spend a lot of time on there right now for that reason. I think Monique was asking if you personally have better leads from LinkedIn. Yes, definitely. I didn't get any leads on the Instagram at all. So that's okay. I decided to refocus my efforts on LinkedIn instead of Instagram. My email open rate is great, but I have never tried cold emails. Yeah, the cold emails are hit or miss. It depends on how that person has their email set up. If it goes straight to spam, it depends on, there's so many different variables there. I prefer cold emails for outreach And the reason being is because I can do some research at a time. And even in that body where it's like super short message, I can create a message that's going to capture their attention. So it's going to be based on something I saw on their website or something that they posted on social media, or I'm not going to do any type of selling at all. And the likelihood of them seeing that, it's slim, but I would prefer having, and again, my preference, I would rather have an email sent to them initially to at least give them that opportunity to see my name, understand who I am on a very, very high level, and know that if I call and follow up, which I will do after a couple of emails, if I haven't heard back, then I will call, then they'll recognize my name. So, if they answer their phone or if I get their voicemail, I leave my message, all of a sudden they're going to start making that association. Oh, Vicki O'Neill, where did I see that before? And I'm going to start creating that connection that way. Eventually, there's a lot of outreach that needs to happen before you actually make that connection. So just know that you don't want to bug them, but you do want to continue following up. And I go with the thought that Wendy Harris, who I connected with on LinkedIn, she says it brilliantly. It's with every outreach or with every sales call, you should have a yes, a no, or a not now. And if it's a not now, then schedule a time or a date when you're going to agree on that follow-up. So there should always be some like certainty with every single prospect where you stand with them. And the no's are okay. In fact, it should be great, because then that's not a good fit for you. And you can take that mental space that you're like worried about whether or not they're going to convert, or you're even going to be able to have another conversation with them. You can now take that and move it over to something else that might transition to something more profitable. Awesome. I'm going to start writing a LinkedIn post right now. Not sure why I've never done that. Oh yeah. Awesome. David, it's like so helpful to create content on LinkedIn. It's valuable. So if you haven't done it in a while, know that the algorithm works in your favor when you create content on a regular basis. So it doesn't mean you have to create it every day, but if you haven't created content in a while, it may take some time to rebuild that momentum with LinkedIn. So if you don't see very many views or you don't get much engagement on that post, stick with it. Maybe create a schedule on how frequently you want to post on LinkedIn. If it's twice a week, maybe it's a Tuesday and a Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday. Being consistent, posting relevant content, use only 3 hashtags, and keep it short and simple, or use images, and just be consistent with that. Okay, so hopefully that will help. You're welcome, Monique. For LinkedIn posts, should I include the link to allow them to book a call with me, or purely focus on value? I've gotten mixed feelings from that in the past. I would say in the initial posts, do most of your LinkedIn posts based on value. If you want to do like one post, I would say maybe every couple of weeks, depending on how often you're posting on LinkedIn. But you don't want to have that book me, call me. You don't want them to have that commitment, because that's like a big commitment to actually, book time with you. You need to earn that time or that commitment from them. So I would say right now, continue on value and have that be your focus. And then you can have a link and determine when you want to do that. If you felt like you've been giving a lot of value and it's time now for you to say, okay, let's see who's interested, then create a post of value, but then have a call to action that they should, consider booking an appointment with you, or booking a call with you. So, and if you can create those links on the other high value posts to go to your website, if that's where you want to drive traffic, I always want to increase my email subscriptions. So if that's one of your goals, because then you can create more communication, you control the relationship. Just consider how you can have that call to action in your LinkedIn post to go back to your website so that you can increase the chances of them giving you their email address. Okay. So hopefully that was helpful and it wasn't conflicting with what you've been hearing elsewhere. Wendy is great. Yes, I love Wendy. She was actually on my podcast as well. And that was where she had shared that with me. I was like, what a great moment to share with you guys, because it's about creating the micro moments, but then along those micro moments, it's about creating decisions. Should we continue down this path or should we not? So hopefully that was helpful. I know I've been on here longer than I normally am, but there've been a lot of great questions. Thank you so much for asking the questions. If you have more after this is over, leave them in the comments below. Before you leave, go ahead and hit like. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and that bell notification. Again, if you've got questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I do check those and we'll get back with you as soon as I see that. So until next time, thank you so much for joining me today and make today great.